Historically speaking, India's foreign policy, the foundations were laid by Jawaharlal Nehru. Let's have no misunderstanding. All Indian leaders, starting from Mahatma Gandhi, now to Prime Minister Modi, they have always had basic objectives in mind. Number one, India will be the hegemonic power in South Asia. Since we're talking about South Asia, India will dominate South Asia. Number two, India will be a great power. So these two were the driving forces. Pakistan happened to be one of the major obstacles in this dream. Now, what has happened? When I say that the objectives are the same, if you see that from the time of Nehru up till now, what is different is the substance is the same, but form, style, and virulence has differed. Today you see the most virulent. We've had wars with India, 48, 65, January, and then 65, September, then 71. Right from the word go, India has always been wanting to weaken Pakistan. And of course, to disintegrate Pakistan. And of course, what else is in store, I cannot predict. But we have to be ready for the good and the bad. So this is basically what I wanted to say in regard to the historical aspect. All our wars were during Congress time. All our agreements, major agreements, were also during the time of Congress. And in 71, there were strategists in India who thought that perhaps Mrs. Gandhi has been a bit soft on Pakistan, and she has missed an opportunity of the century to destroy Pakistan, destroy Pakistan's army. I mean, that destruction of Pakistan's army was one of the major objectives. Of course, 98, the nuclear experiments on both sides changed the strategic scene for India and Pakistan. Now what you see about Prime Minister Modi's policies. He is a person who has come up through the RSS. And RSS is one of the most vicious organizations in India. It's political, religious, and also virulently anti-Pakistan, virulently anti-Muslim, virulently they have no regard and respect for either the Sikh community or the Christians. So today, what you see is a new ideological thrust. Previously, the ideological thrust was not there, but now it is there. Basically, Mr. Modi wants to transform India into a real Hindu state. That's his main ambition. In fact, this is the ambition of the RSS, the VHP, the Bajrang Dal, all these righteous organizations. They want to cleanse India of what they consider as elements that have crept into the Hindu society. Basically, Hindutva is actually, it covers it's a very vague term, but it's kind of cultural nationalism, which is actually a euphemism for religious and political bigotry. So, as far as Modi is concerned, this is basically what he's embarked on. Now, what he's done, I regret to tell you, is something that is popular in India. Please do not forget that 83% of India's population is Hindu. And whatever little resistance that we have seen, either in the media or in the in the civil society, some sort of muted voices from the political parties, by and large, whatever he has done in India so far in regard to Kashmir, in regard to what he's doing to the minorities in India. So that's basically, now unfortunately, because of the grim international realities, you know, the world, the global order is in a state of flux. And in that context, India has gained a lot of importance in the eyes of the big major powers, particularly the United States. India is a big country. It's 7 times the size of Pakistan. It has an economy, and a developing economy. Of course, it's in trouble at the moment. But by and large, a large country, 3rd largest army in the world, 4th largest air force in the world, 5th largest navy in the world, nuclear power, and a large technological and industrial base. So we are faced with a major challenge vis-a-vis India. What India has done in Kashmir is very obvious, most ruthless killing machine. They are indulging in a very systematic genocide. And I think, I would say that we have to compliment the brave people of Kashmir for whatever they have withstood so far. Over the years, they've lost over 100,000 people. Every family in Kashmir has suffered. But I want to touch on one other aspect. India has been able to win support in the international community among the major powers, and I can even name them: USA, Britain, France. Russia is at the moment a little nebulous in its attitude. And then, of course, other Western countries. Why is that? Well, it's because India is a big country. India is economically very attractive for the world. And today's world, what matters is the size of your economy and what you can do for the future of the economy. And, of course, the most critical factor today is the complicated relationship between the US and China, and how and what role can India play in this game. Clearly, the United States would like to harness, or has harnessed, India for the containment of China. And you can see that there is a lot of conflict in the region. And one more thing I wanted to add here is, I hope I'm within my time. One more thing I wanted to add is, we have been very consistent about our policy on Kashmir. But I'll be very frank. Statements, speeches, and repeating them by and large over and over again is not going to get the Kashmiris their freedom from India. We have to understand that very clearly. I am I'm a minority view in this country. We have to help the Kashmiris. We have no choice, we have no option. They have already sacrificed a lot, and we have a certain responsibility. As you know, under the UN Charter, there are elements within the UN Charter which allow and permit that we can support people who are fighting for their freedom. Freedom. And here freedom means the right of self-determination, which has been guaranteed to them not only by India, by the international community, and of course, the world knows about it. The UN resolutions are critical as far as Pakistan is concerned, as far as the Kashmiris are concerned, because we were made parties to this dispute by the UN resolutions. And those who sort of ridicule the UN resolutions or say that they are dated or they are no longer relevant, like some leaders in the past have said. And, you know, when you make statements that, yes, of course, everybody, we want peace. And the record shows that Pakistan has been, and in fact, even begging for peace in the past. So India has made up its mind. India is very clear about its priorities. No compromise with Pakistan. No concessions to Pakistan. No way are we going to give up Kashmir. This, by the way, is what you call a national consensus in India. And even if it means killing the last Kashmiri, they would not hesitate. That's the attitude. That's the mindset, and particularly of the government that is in power today. So we have a very complicated situation. India is a big country, but it's not a great country, because it's an elephant with a very mean mind and a very small heart. And that's one of the reasons why it really cannot be a great country. India can only be a great country if countries in the region accept them. Today, they have problems with everybody. Nepal, it's a Hindu state, has been strangulated on a number of occasions by these economic clampdown on Nepal, 4 or 5 times. 3 times during the time of the Congress, twice by Modi's government. Bhutan really cannot breathe. I was also ambassador to Bhutan. I can tell you they are very nice people. They have a lot of affection for Pakistan, but they can't breathe. Sri Lanka has had very bad experience with India. The Tamil, the LTD, who created it? It was India that created it, a man called Prabhakaran. And then, of course, they even intervened, as you know, and got a very bloody nose. And eventually, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated. So India has a very complicated foreign policy. There was I can give you a little story. There was a very affectionate mother who was watching the passing out parade of the school where her son was studying. And in the passing out parade, her son was 1 or 2 steps behind the line. So she said, asked the principal, why is everybody else out of line with my son? I think that is the situation with India. India thinks that everybody is out of line. But domination, hegemony, domination of the Indian Ocean has become a major, major foreign policy interest of India. And then how to do it? Now, of course, they've had this issue with China, which is a very complicated issue. India got beaten in 1962. They probably got a bloody nose now, and would probably get a bigger bloody nose if they were to really take on China. So the question I'm trying to say is, but they are now trying to, you see, India's had this whole thing about non-alignment. There's no such thing as non-alignment, and they have used it to their advantage. When they need the support of a major power, they go to them. Like in '71, India signed the Indo-Soviet Treaty to decimate Pakistan. Now they are trying to get into bed with the United States. So, you know, this is the opportunistic aspect of India's foreign policy. For us, there are 3 or 4 important things now. Kashmir remains a very critical problem for Pakistan. And how do we manage it? Number 1. Number 2, how do we manage our relations with India, with a country which is extremely aggressive? And thirdly, and very importantly, how do we protect CPEC? Because India has convinced the United States that CPEC is not only a threat to India, but it is a threat to the United States. And now Western countries are now openly saying this. that CPAC is a threat to vital national security interests of the Western countries. So let me just sum it up by saying that we are facing some very critical challenges, but a very important aspect which I've sort of missed earlier. In India, there is a consensus. No national political party is saying that settle with Pakistan, or give up Kashmir, or compromise on Kashmir. In Pakistan, there is some confusion. What I would like to underline here is that it is absolutely imperative that all political parties must be on the same page, not the front and the back of the page, but on the front of the page. And on this issue and other national issues, there should be no compromises. So what we have seen of the last few months, the debate on Kashmir in the parliament, I'm sorry to say, was a bit of a disgrace. It took them a day and a half or two to pass a resolution on Kashmir, something that should have happened in 5 minutes, because these resolutions are not drafted by these parliamentarians. They're already, as they say, ready and cooked and presented before the parliamentarians. They just have to agree on it. And it should have been unanimously passed in the first 10 minutes. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a certain, and India is taking advantage of this thing. They are aware of the internal political difficulties that Pakistan is facing. And therefore, we must make every effort to ensure that we do not provide India opportunities, whether it's in Balochistan or in Fatah or elsewhere. This is what they are capitalizing on. They say it openly. I'm not making any great revelations. They're saying it openly. They write openly about it, that we are out to destroy Pakistan. We are out to destabilize Pakistan. So my final comment is that I really would appeal to the nation, to the Prime Minister, who has great responsibility to ensure that this consensus in this country on critical national issues, in which I include, of course, the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, is something on which there is a national consensus.